What we've got today is more of what we did yesterday with a little bit more, hopefully a little bit more progress. The quick review. Yesterday, after doing all of the other parts, I can't review everything now because we're getting too far along, too many days and parts. But we're day 7, day 8, I don't remember, of our effort to design a board game. And this one's still, it's based on Pokemon. uh, Using it. I know it's licensed, so we'll never actually get this out unless we can sell this to get Pokemon to want to produce it if they like it enough. Otherwise, it's just an exercise, practical exercise in game design. What goes into game design? All the different things you have to think about, and how to hash out details enough to make them uh, cohesive so that they work well in a game. And you got to consider all the different things you have to consider along the way in a board game design, from everything from the mechanics to playtime to audience, and components and setup and all that kind of thing. So we are kind of hashing all those things out. What you see here, if you haven't seen any of the other videos, this is our basically our brainstorm. This is the initial set of rules in a lot of ways. The mechanics section here, this is how the game's going to function and work. So that's not actually rules. We do have a section down here where it starts to identify the rules. That'll actually go into the the rule book, and some combination of these other oddball items will also be in the rule book, of course. But mechanics, it's really going to be played out. So the rules will tell you how to utilize those things, but the mechanics are, are we using game cards? Are we going to put features on cards? Or what are we going to do in that? So yesterday, what we did was we were adding more details, but in the first session, and in the second session, we actually got around to doing some mock-ups. We mocked up what we expect the player area to look like. So we'll pop that up here in just a moment, and I'll start continuing on that process, and we'll get on to what the central area of the game will look like and what stuff is in there. We'll be pulling from the resource of our brainstorming for components, and see if we're missing anything. And sometimes you come up with things that's like, oh, but what if? One of the problems we ran into yesterday, or I ran into yesterday, was our Pokemon decks. How many cards is reasonable? Because we don't want to have a game that has to have 1,000 cards in it to do everybody's stuff. Ultimately, I think a game that uh, can support maybe 60 cards per person, that might be reasonable. But you also got to know that in order to build these decks and have all the stuff, each person may have a 60 card player deck, right? But they got to be pulling from decks that, the last person picking the last card or building his deck off the last card shouldn't be running out of stacks on the game. I mean, there should always be enough Pokemon for people to play. There should always be enough of each type of Pokemon so that they can go to these areas and get what they need. Um, Even if it's not all of them, maybe you aren't going to be able to catch, I don't know, a Pikachu. I don't know why Pokemon names aren't coming to my head right off the bat here. But you might not be able to catch a Pikachu if one person's caught two of them and another person's caught three of them. Maybe the deck doesn't support enough for everybody to get one. Um, it's not unreasonable to expect that maybe a person needs to catch more than one. Maybe when you evolve, the basic goes back to the deck. That might be a good plan. Maybe let's put that in, so this way other people can maybe at least catch the basic if they want to, or maybe if they want to evolve. So I'm not planning to make it so that Pokemon that evolve can be devolved, because that would make that action of being able to put Pokemon back into the availability deck not reasonable. So we got to keep that in mind. So if one person collects all basic Pokemon of one type, we want to make it so that there's enough variety in there in each type of deck or each area of deck that it's unlikely that one person's going to get all of one, because that would mean they'd have to just keep going around searching just to get those one Pokemon. Um, Also, maybe we need to have, a Pokedex limit. Maybe you can only have 20 Pokemon. You're only going to have 6 that you can use. So why do you need to have 100. It's not a game where it's got to catch them all, because it it's kind of unreasonable. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of Pokemon. Now, in one, I mean, even in the very first game, first iterations of Pokemon, I think there was 160 different Pokemon. Now, granted, some are probably evolutions, but still, it's if you were to have one of every type in evolution stage, you would be 180 Pokemon, and that would mean your deck would have to have at least 180, and that's not counting the stuff you put in there for or your Pokedex would have to have room for 180 Pokemon. Maybe maybe the campaign. You know, we could think about campaign victory conditions. You know, these are things I'm thinking about for the future. Campaigning would go along with additional regions, but you might have, let's see, campaign with multiple region leaders. Let's see, win conditions involving catching all or most of a region Pokemon. Region? Man, I didn't. Wow, where'd that U come from? Regions Pokemon. So, these, as you can see, campaign is a question mark because that's not actually a thing yet. Maybe solo play might be catch all the Pokemon or something. Because if you play with 4 people, all of you can be conflicting against each other for catching all the Pokemon. So that could make it kind of challenging to do that. And I don't know. I think we have to limit just so that we can have a reasonable amount, because we may have to have, let's say, if every person could have 20 Pokemon and you have 4 people playing, the game, just in production value, is going to have a minimum of 80 Pokemon of a type, just in case one person wants to, or one person decides he's going to go all lightning. So that could be a problem. So we may not be able to support that, and therefore have to limit it in some way. Maybe you can only have 6 of a type. So, because that means if you're going to build all lightning Pokemon, and you're trying to get an all lightning deck, all lightning set of Pokemon, that's fine. But you can only have 6 of a type. So that still allows you to have a lot of Pokemon, though. But at least you couldn't go and buy out all the lightning Pokemon. At least not yet. We'll have to have play to kind of decide what that's going to be. We might have to have limits on catching. Let's see. Control. Let's see. Pokedex. I'm going to write that down because it is something we need to. When you think of ideas, you really do have to write them down. It's real easy to get yourself ideas going, and then you don't write them down, and then you're like, oh, where is that? I thought I put that in here. Or you're thinking about it again later. One line per Pokemon. Total Pokemon limit. $20. Oops. You know what? I think we're going to change our maybe our Pokédex needs to. Our Pokédex also should have. Let's see. Strength of those Pokemon. Number of items. Level 6 highest level of those Pokemon. So type of those Pokemon. This way, when you're writing them down, you write down the name and you write down the type as well as the HP and the strength that Pokemon is. This way, when you're if we have a Pokemon type limit, you can only have so many of each type, and then you have to release one of them out into the wild, which basically remove them from your Pokédex and put them out back into the the wild. So, and what are the conditions of that? I mean, if we have to release Pokemon, taking them out of your deck, maybe we have to lock your six highest Pokemon. You cannot release a Pokemon that's one of your top six. This way, you don't affect your trainer deck. So we have that. That might be a number of items, strength of Pokemon, type of those Pokemon, per type limit, with limit, you have to release another Pokemon to gain another Pokemon of that type to gain another, and cannot release any of your top six level Pokemon. Okay, so these are things that we're just kind of thinking of. These are also making out our rules a little bit. This is actually these are more rules than what should be on the Pokédex. So let's take that down to the rules, and we'll go down here. Pokemon Dex, to Pokemon turn actions, NPC. Let's just go here. Pokédex rules. Per type limit, total, Pokemon limit. This is all about trying to maintain or we don't want to reduce the Pokemon game type setup of it. So we want our game to be as close to actually playing a Pokemon TCG or game, online game, or even having that same feel of the cartoons. Problem is, with components, physical components, we don't have unlimited memory, unlimited space, or even, for that matter, unlimited resources to make these cards, to have enough cards in the game. Because if you put, 20 of each type in there, and you got 8 types, that's 160 cards. That's just of the Pokemon available. And then you have to have some kind of energy and item cards, and people are going to fill those into their deck. So that's another, probably 100 at least. And then you've got your encounter cards. There may not have to be a ton of encounter cards, because those can keep cycling just because they're going to state, based on where you're at, what you put in there. But even so, even if it's only a 20 card encounter deck, you got your tiles, and maybe there's only 20 tiles or 15 tiles because we're doing big tiles. But still, all those add up to cost. And you got to keep that in mind too. I mean, game design is not just about putting a game on the table. It's putting a game on the table that can be produced in some way without, not only cost to the manufacturer who's got to make this game, but the cost to the consumer who's going to play this game. No matter how good the game is, you can make this fantastic game, but if it's going to cost $150 to cover all the cards, they're like, I don't want to pay that much money for a game. I mean, I don't like Pokemon that much. And the current going rate for even a high-end game, they can go above, but $60-$70 is on the high end of cost. I think 40 to 60 is probably the range you want to shoot for. So all that aside, you don't know how much this is going to cost, but tell you this, creating a lot of cards in a deck is expensive. And plus shipping becomes really expensive. Cards are heavy. If you put 500 cards in your game, that's a lot of cards. Not only is that going to be an expensive game to produce and sell, but shipping that thing it's going to be a weighty game. Some games have a lot of components and they don't have a ton of cards, but most of those that are really heavy, it's because they have a ton of cards or tiles. That stuff is very dense. It takes up a lot of space in your box. And customers aren't going to be thrilled about having to pay $40 to ship their game, or depending on what it is, or $20 to $30. if your game weighs 20 pounds or whatever it is. You've seen some big ones though. I mean, Gloomhaven and some of these other games are huge, and they weigh a ton, and they're not cheap to ship. So keep those things in mind. You want to have as much as you can in the box without getting it unsellable, unshippable, unreasonable. So okay, so I think what we've got here is pretty good. We did break down some of our new things that we just thought about, Pokedex rules, just things that we have to consider to keep our game confined. And I think we may have to have a per type limit, and therefore our Pokedex is going to have to track type. This way you can say, oh, I've already got 6 lightning Pokemon, I need to release one. If you're only doing lightning Pokemon in your deck, then you're going to have to focus on 6 key ones that you want to build up. I think our win conditions are going to have to force a person to spread out. You have to have at least one of each Pokemon type. You have to have at least one, you have to defeat at least one trainer of each type or something. This way, it forces people to spread out. Maybe that's our thing. You have to catch one Pokemon of every type. Or you have to defeat one trainer of every type. Or these are the game win conditions that would end the game in a shorter period of time, because really it's just move around until you catch one, right? So you can do that pretty quick. But you make the trainers tough enough that it's not just the first guy you hit each time and you win. It's more like, might be you need to go get enough Pokemon to beat them. So make it so it's really hard to beat a trainer with one Pokemon. You could try, and you might win, with some luck. But I think ideally, you're gonna have to, unless you manage to get their weakness, which is possible, but it isn't going to help you on all Pokemon, on all of the trainers. Trainers, the goal is that they will be type specific. So if they're in a particular area, they're going to draw from that area's type deck, and that would be, it wouldn't guarantee that they get, like if you're in grass and you draw 3 grass Pokemon for them, that they're all going to be grass, because there could be colorless Pokemon, there could be other Pokemon that maybe nighttime Pokemon, daytime, the other things that can affect what they draw. And I think the type Pokemon decks are not going to be locked to that type. They're just going to have majority of that type. So you could have other things that come in. Maybe there's some Pokemon that are fighting Pokemon that could be in the grass deck, simply because they have grass abilities, or maybe they're lost. We can call them lost Pokemon. They're the ones that are going to be in other decks. I don't know. So we'll have that as part of our thing. So I think it's good. Let's go ahead and start doing a mock-up. Let's adjust our Pokedex, and then we will go to mocking up our play area. The shared play area. That's the center of the table. Okay, so let me turn this on. All right, so I'm going to move my keyboard out of the way here. Make it stay available so that I can continue to type and tweak. All right, so we decided we're going to add type, and I think it might be a good idea, because I think we may have to have type limits, and I think that's more likely to be useful to force people to kind of move around, catch different things. I don't know if we'll have an overall limit. I haven't decided on that yet. Maybe if the game is set up to be, if we design it well and it plays fast enough, it'll be pretty hard to overfill your stuff. The problem is if we decide to do a campaign, which you could really build up and have a lot. But a campaign is only practical with expansions, so which means add additional regions, which is more cards, which is more reasonable. We're able to do that because we'll have more cards available to you in the expansion, whereas that wouldn't be in a single game. So campaigns are future time. So let's go ahead and expand my box here. And I'm going to try to erase these lines. Oops. sometimes it thinks it's being smart and it'll erase more stuff than I need it to. But that's okay. I need to extend these lines anyway. We'll just go like this and like this. Probably don't need to go that far. I don't know. Is there a way to adjust how it's erasing? It seems like it's trying to erase entire lines. It's not great. If you know OneNote and you have some reason to kick in here and give me some extra feedback, sorry, you do get to watch the top of my head again, back to the top of head watching scene. So I'd stay away from the person view. Let's see. We got level or type. And let's be here. Somehow I deleted my lines here. Okay, so we'll include type. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and I'm going to change this screen here. I'm going to put it right up here where this says Mockup. I'm going to turn on my keyboard. And we're going to say player area. And then we're going to create a new page. This is going to be Mockup. This is going to be a common area. Or common area. Alright, and we're going to turn on our grid view because I like the grid when drawing. Let's see. Ruler lines. Okay, there we go. So, make this a little bigger so I can see what I'm drawing. Alright, so in this area, we're going to go ahead and start putting in our things that are going to be shared by everybody. What's going to be available. And again, this is just conceptual. I expect it'll change. Maybe we'll decide that that's not the best way to lay it out. But ultimately, what we want to do is have an idea of how many things are going to be on our board. So this is one of the advantages to grid layouts. If we decide that, say, six squares on this grid are going to be a deck of cards. So that means we can put 6 of them out there. We know it's a 2x3, which is what cards typically are. I could even maybe, just for the sake of keeping my space small, we have rule lines. Let's go extra fine. Yeah. So this is going to allow me to be pretty tiny. But I'm gonna expand this so that we can write big. I like being able to write big. This way, when I shrink it down to a normal viewable area, we can see everything. Things are legible and clear. So that's a good way to go. So in our deck, in our play area, I'm gonna set up my game set area. What are our components? I do have my components here. So a deck for each type of Pokemon. I think we decided there will be a water type Pokemon. I'm gonna make this really big here. And how do we want to do this? You know, I'm thinking the map needs its space, right? So we're going to try to set it up so we can grow our map outward and upward as much as possible. Now we got players sitting on the table, and they're going to take up space too. So we don't want to take up, most tables are rectangular. So these are all things. See, this is the stuff you got to consider when you're putting stuff on a table. It's not just throw everything on here because your paper can support everything under in the world. You got to pick an area, put everything, your components in one space. This allows you to have the rest of the table for expanding. And this is one of the problems that we considered with tiles. Remember, tiles take up space, and the more you put down, the more it's going to flow all over the table. I'm only thinking about 15 tiles because I'm hoping to be able to do this in minimal number of tiles, but the tiles are going to be bigger. They're not going to be the tiny little tiles. They're going to have tiles that are, have multiple spaces on them, probably 8, enough to put player things in each one, and maybe even some tracking tokens. So, but if you figure 8 of these, we're going to write that down. We're going to try to draw it out on our screen so we can kind of see how is this taking up space on our table. And are we realistically, if we think each space is an inch or each square is an inch, our table has to be what? We have a max table area. So we got to consider that. So what is the max table area? 3 feet wide? Are they 4 feet wide? I don't know. What's a typical dining room table width? I think it's probably 4 feet. Or is it 3 feet? I'm trying to think of what kind of table boards. I think it's 3 feet. I think it's probably not more than 3 feet wide. So that's only 36 inches. So if we figure a 6-foot table, that's a kind of a shorter table. Let's say 6-foot table. I think that's a common, you want to be able to play on a common size table. You can, if you have a bigger table, it'll be great for you, but I'm actually going to create a border of our zone here. So that would be 36 inches by, what is that, 72? Yeah, I think that's 72. So 36 squares by 72. Let's do that. So we got 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30. 3, 6. 3, 6. Okay. It's a little hard to do this, so I have to count them out as I go. So let's see, when we shrink this down, that's kind of what we look like there. So now we're going to take this out to 70, what did I say, 72? Eek. Okay, so we got 2, 4, 6, 12. Let's see, 17, 22, 24, 26, 8, 30. And then we got 2, 4, 6. I gotta do this bigger. It's just too hard to see. 6, 10, 14, 18. That's 48. 52, 56, 60. And 4, 8, 72. All right, so now I think we have our table dimensions. This ought to be fairly easy to draw out now. Let's go a little bigger here so I can see where I'm going. And this one, I can just draw a straight line, as straight as my hand can actually do. Take this one all the way up. All right, so this is our table. Now, if we put a person here and a person here and a person here and a person here, so this is a 3 foot by 6 foot table. I'm assuming this will kind of be what we're going to be looking at when we're sitting. Let's assume everybody's going to kind of sit in the middle. I don't know how, person takes up probably 2 feet worth of width, so you could probably figure about 24. So, and the only reason I'm marking this is that we get a feel for what it's taking up in relation to a person. So I'm only going to put a little rectangle here to kind of show what a person might be. So we got 2. See, so let's expand this. I'm going to do 24s, and I'll do a quick here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 2, 4. And this guy is just going to sit here. And then we'll shrink. And so this is how much space a person will take on our 6 foot table. Let's see here, can I do this? Nope. I have not quite got the, oops. I know there's a way to copy this, but I don't know what it is at the moment. So you'll have to bear with me while I figure this out. Let's do. Aha! Cheated. Keyboard. Alright. Now, put one over here, and oops. Uh-oh. Put one over here. I'm only going to put 3 because I think I actually no, I'm sorry, I'm not talking. It's just sometimes, you know, talking requires concentration, which I am trying desperately to accomplish. So, alright, so I'm going to erase these extra things I put in here. And then I'll put this guy back. Oops. Dang it. Why did it dish off? Okay, so we're slowly getting this thing worked out, and I don't know why it refuses to select my top line, so I gotta draw another line on here. And we'll draw a top line on these guys too. So this is essentially just the idea of us trying to figure out about what our table area is going to look like as we get in here and start putting stuff on the table. And we need to know this information because, well, it's important. We don't want our, if we come up with so much stuff and it takes up our entire table, that's kind of a thing to consider. And how much are we actually going to put on here? So let's go ahead and expand. Now we're going to go ahead and start putting our cards down. So these are the decks that we figure are going to need to be in there. We want to be able to do it too. So like if it takes up, you know, 6 feet of a 6-foot table, that means some people are going to have a hard time reaching stuff, right? Ideally, we keep everything compressed in like a nice 4-foot area. But, you know, maybe not. It might not work that way. So I'm going to throw on my shirt because it's getting cold. I do have a heater, but unfortunately it creates a bright yellow spot behind me, which can be quite distracting. So I'm gonna put my shirt on. There we go. Roll up the sleeves and get to it. All right, let's go ahead and start putting on some cards. So we know for a fact that we have at least 6 decks for each type of Pokemon, right? So we have grass, fire. Well, let's see here. We'll just write them down so we know. So it's a 2x3, which is what we're going to do. So we're going to just start putting down 2x3 decks. 2x3 decks like this. And this will be, let's see if I can write the word grass without grass. Ugh. And then we have lightning. I don't even know if I doubt I can write lightning on here. Lightning. And then we have water. And we have, you know, maybe our maybe they have to have a symbol. So lightning might have, actually, let's not call it lightning. Let's call it electric. because that's a smaller word. I think they are electric type, not lightning Pokemon. And then we're going to say these guys have to be daytime, just because I don't yet know how else we're going to do those. How we're going to do daytime versus nighttime. We're going to have water, which would be, I don't know, something like that. Grass, you know, something like that. And then we'll have, say we have dark Pokemon. And then that one's going to be moon, nighttime. And then we'll have, what else? We have fire. Let's see, fire. And then we have, fire is going to be what? I don't know, how do you do fire? It's fire symbol. Like that? Looks more like water, huh? Let's see, what is fire? Like that? I don't know. What is fire? Any ideas on how to draw a fire? Anybody? 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 Crickets. Bueller. 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 Alright, so I don't know. Let's see. I can't do that because that's just water. So, fire. Well, let's see. These are the areas that you might have. So, we'll just say let's change the color, and then we'll just do it that way. Oops. My little fire drop was better than that one. So we got like this. That'll be something fiery. And then, so let's do colors. Why not? I can do colors. This would be, and then this would be, oh, nope, 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 don't do that either. Nothing like watching the guy at the top of a guy's head. I hope you're watching the drawing and not my head, because I'm not may not be a great artist, but I'm also not a, you don't want to see the top of my head, anyway. Okay, so electric is going to be, ooh, that's an ugly circle. Did I not make that? That's really big. I want to make that small. How come all these other ones are tiny? Do I have to change the color on these? Oh, interesting. Okay. I want to, ooh, there's a finer line. Nice. I'm going to use that. That might make my life a lot easier. Okay, so I'll do that. Let's see if I can do this. Oh, wow, spectacular. That's not yellow, though. I need that to be yellow. Let's see. Where's more colors? I said yellow, that one. Okay. Alright, I don't know how to select, apparently, because when I go here, and I say more colors, and I say yellow, and I say, okay, that's what I want. Select it. Why isn't it selecting it? Yay, me. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm making you learn how to use OneNote with me. Don't think anybody here is gonna know. I don't know how to make this select my color. I'm clicking it, and I say select this. Oh, that's what I need to do. That just puts me, this bar here just puts you down in the range, and then you have to actually pick the one you want from that range. So there we go. Alright, so if I want yellow, I just do this. And same thing with, well, Oh, this is going to make so much easier to have a fine line like this. I could actually write the words better. Oh, I'm going to do that. Yep. Learn, learn, learn. All learn together. So we're going to go here, and then we're going to go pick my black, and I'm going to go here and type electric. Now, I don't know how well this is going to be readable later, but I'm going to erase this whole thing, and then we're going to go, I'm hoping this will still be readable. I'll try to be very literal with my letters now that I can. And then we'll go to, oops, go here, and I don't see, oh, there we go, is that it? Nope, that's not green. Let's go more colors. I'd like to tell you that the reason I don't see green here, it's because it's not, but it's very possible. I just, my color blindness is taking effect, so. Alright, so we'll say this is grass. And then we need a blue for water. And let's just go with that one. And then this is, and then I don't know, what would moon be? Let's leave moon black with the white thing. Okay, so I think that's going to be pretty good for our, let's see, that's 5. What are we missing? Grass, electric, water, fire, dark. Oh, and then there's the colorless Pokemon. And I don't know what the heck colorless Pokemon would be for drawing purposes. So we gotta go here, and here, and here, and we'll say white Pokemon? Nah, colorless. They are called colorless in the game, colorless. And I have no idea what a colorless symbol would be. So we'll just be I think they use like a weird little star thing, don't they? I don't know. I think that's way too many points on the star, but we'll have to use it for now. And then we have other weird types, and maybe some of these types don't make it to this version. I don't know, because maybe those are expansions. We'll introduce new types later. Dragon? I'm going to put a question mark, because I don't know. Not only do I not know what a dragon looks, a dragon would be. Let's see. And then we have his weird tail that goes all the way around. And he's got wings. Wow, that's quite the dragon. Told you I don't know how to draw. If you're coming here for an artist class, this is not it. There's some other YouTube guys out there, I'm sure, who can teach you how to draw a dragon in microscopic form. I, on the other hand, am not one of them, and so we're going to move on. So let's say fairy. And again, I think that might be a bonus type. I feel like I'm missing some basic type. Oh, there's metal. I don't know, these aren't even basic types. I think metal and dark were even the original, back in the TCG days, I think metal and dark were considered the two rare Pokemon. Now and then those became pretty standard, and they started adding dragon and colorless, or not colorless, dragon and fairy, and those things came later. And I think there's even other types now, but I don't remember what those are. So we got dragon, we got fairy, we got metal, and I don't remember what metal is. Metal, according to the Pokemon game, I think is some kind of like a round symbol with I don't know, shaded areas that are kind of like that. I don't know, I'm guessing. It's been a while since I've seen one, but how's that? We'll call that the metal symbol. It's it's something. I don't know if I've covered everything. I feel like there's still some basic grass, electric, water, fire thing that I'm missing, but maybe not. Oh, fighting. Yeah, see, there is one, and that's basic. That's like a standard. Standard Pokemon type. That's one of the originals, and they have these weird little fists. So what is it like a? I don't know what the rest of the hand looks like. Kind of like this. I don't know. Is that fighting? Kind of looks like a knuckle, huh? Okay, so alright, so I think I've covered all the types. I probably, oh nope, still, see, there's one more. There's Psychic. What about Psychic? And I think Psychic is a standard one as well. That's one of the commons. And I always forget how to spell Psychic. How about Psychic? It's probably spelled wrong, but I don't have any viewers, so you can't tell me I'm wrong. Unless you put it in the chat, then you can tell me I'm wrong. But hopefully I'm right. And what is a psychic symbol? Oh yeah, it's like an eyeball or something, ain't it? So it's like that. And put like a creepy little eye in the middle. Is that it? Maybe. I can make it look like a half asleep eye. Now it just looks like a clam with a pearl in the middle. Alright. I don't know. I think it's something eye-like. I'm just going to put a circle in the middle of my eye-like shape, and we'll call it that. Okay, so I think I now have all the Pokemon types. See, this is already, look, it took up almost the entire table's length, which is fine, but I think some of these guys are going to be question marks, like the color, not the colorless, but the dragon, the fairy. Things like maybe even dark and metal. I don't know. We may have to keep that down to a minimum and just have your basic Pokemon to start. Because if every one of these has to have enough cards for everybody to get some, that could be really difficult. That would be, if we figure everybody's got to get at least the ability to do 6, that's 24 cards per stack. If everybody's going to have at least the option. If everybody got 6 and just stopped at 6, because there's a limit, so we have a type limit, you can only have 6. And if everybody went and took all the cards from one, that would be 20. That would be 24. So that already is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 25 times 12 is 300. So this is only 11, so it's 275 minus 11 because we only have 24. So it's 264 cards. That's a lot of cards. So this is 264. That's not a 9, it's just bad drawing. 264 cards. 24 each. So we're not even done with all of the key cards on this game. These are just the Pokemon cards that we need to make available for people to get. It could be possible that maybe some of the decks are smaller because maybe there's not as many metal Pokemon available or not as many fairy or dragon. And if you want those, you have to get to those regions or those areas. And they're maybe less common for an opportunity for one to fall. And where do legendaries come into this? Do we have a special legendary deck that maybe legendaries only come up when all the Pokemon from a particular group are taken? So that might be a thing, you know. So somebody might go fighting all the electric. Nope, that would be everybody would have to get 6. So we may have to limit them. Maybe we can't even do that. So we got to figure out how legendaries would come out. That's an interesting thought. I'm going to write this down because, again, I don't want to have to. Let's see. Encounter cards would have to tell you when a legendary would come up, or maybe. Yeah, let's see. Where's the encounter, exploring, find Pokemon, harder to find Pokemon, fewer in the game, more difficult to catch. Encounter difficult. Trying to see if ranges determine the rarity of Pokemon. Ranges determine the rarity of Pokemon. Oh. See, I was doing something here where I was trying to decide what kind of Pokemon would come up based on the die roll. Hmm. 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 That's interesting. See, that could make it more difficult too. Because if we have rarities of Pokemon, yeah, yeah. See, there's a lot of things to consider, and this is one of the things about any game design. Unless you come up with a simple one, I did design a game called Puzzle Exchange. It took me about an hour and a half to design to come up with it and the rules. Tweaked it for an hour or two. Had a mock-up and a prototype, and it was fully playable within a week and almost ready to deploy or produce. We just needed to get art and, of course, be able to afford to produce it. But it was fun. You could sit down with any number of players, sit down and play that game. But that was a simple game. It was designed to be a quick, simple, like filler game. But games like this that get into all of the little inner workings of what Pokemon is all about is going to be definitely going to call up questions and challenges that you have to decide when to be realistic for the game design and when to be realistic for playtime and play design. Um, so we're thinking, how do we get legendaries in there? Well, they got to be more rare, but do we do things like, are there going to be common, which are like your basics, and where do the evolutions go? You can't evolve. You can evolve at a level, but you may have to get. How do you get the Pokemon? I mean, where do the levels come from? If you want to evolve, we've already done the experience, and you could pick a card out of there. But how do you evolve? Where do the experience cards come from? Maybe you get a pick. You could just pick a random card to draw from, and you put them in your experience stack. But then what if everybody's drawing from the same type? That would be everybody's playing with the same one, and there'd be 5. 5 times 4 is 20. There should be enough. I think it would be rare. I'm trying to visualize how evolution will take place. We already know you can't evolve. Maybe if you have an evolution card if you want to evolve, it has to be an evolution card that's in your stack, and you have to meet the minimum. So say you evolve at 10, and you've been pulling XP cards off of the lightning stack for your Pokemon. When it's time to level, you've hit your 5 or 6 or 7, whatever the number of cards is, and you pull it up. If it's got the evolution in there and you've hit your limit, you may evolve, which means essentially you're just going to switch out that Pokemon and put the basic Pokemon back in the stack. I think that could work. So that might have to be how we're going to play it. This way it'll keep cards in the lightning stack. Evolution's only available to you then, but if say you level and it's not in yours, you can't evolve yet. Your Pokemon chooses not to evolve yet. You'll have to wait until he fights and levels up again, and maybe he'll evolve the next time. There is some conditional rarity, I think. You have a chance to level up, but you're not always going to try to level up. It'll only be when he's available, and I think that's actually pretty good. So I think if I remember how the older games worked anyway, evolution was not automatic at a level. There was just a minimum level for it to happen. So let's go back, turn actions, Pokemon, Pokemon Dex, Pokedex Rules, and do I not have, I know I had rules for, let's see, leveling. Okay. Leveling. There you go, Pokemon level. Pokemon reach experience required, pick one card. Whoa, hey, go away. I must have said something that she thinks is the thing. Okay. When Pokemon reach experience required per level, pick one card in the face pick one card from face. I think that's supposed to say down. Experience cards. To add a Pokemon Pokemon play card. Let's see here. If that Pokemon level exceeds the level of the 6th highest Pokemon, that's when you have to start putting cards back. Shuffle unchosen Shuffle unchosen cards back into experience deck. All right, so if one of those cards is the evolution to that Pokemon, and you have reached the required level, minimum level, required minimum level for evolving, you can replace Pokemon with the evolution and return that card to the type deck. Now we're gonna put another thing in. You may choose a different card. You may choose one additional card from the EXP cards to add to the Pokemon draw deck. Okay. See, now that's, so I think what we're going to have is we're going to have scenarios where what kind of cards can go in the EXP draw deck. So you're going to have encounters, which could be Pokemon, but I think well, it's going to be tricky. So we got to decide what goes in the XP cards, right? Because if it's all the Pokemon, you obviously can't capture all those Pokemon, so that's not going to work. It's got to be stuff that you could actually use on your Pokemon. So if, or maybe I got it. It is Pokemon. Nope, you can't capture all Pokemon. You can't capture Pokemon. You can't capture Pokemon through your EXP. That wouldn't work. So what we need to do is come up with the strategy that would identify how would you, what are the XP cards you're going to be choosing from? Do we just draw from the item deck? Maybe we have an XP deck, and that could include different versions of Pokemon. It could be evolutions and items. So see, here's the problem. I'm trying to reduce, it's not just about having a solution. It's about having something that reduces the number of cards and how to have different stacks in play. Again, I might be able to eliminate some of these types for now until future expansion might come up. But what we got to do is get it down to a workable number of cards. So if our XP is made up of, we want to figure out how do we get to evolution. If you level up and your Pokemon is there, the one that you want to use, but that would only way that's going to ever really happen is if you're drawing from your type deck. Now maybe you can't take, maybe that's just an option for you. You can draw from the type deck, and then if there's nothing there you can draw from, or there's not an evolution to take, then maybe you just randomly take off the item deck. You can take a random item off the item deck for your deck, which could be energy or other type stuff. I think that works. Let's do that. So that'll simplify stuff. It'll just be Pokemon in the XP deck, and if you can't take a Pokemon, so maybe we have to reduce what you're taking. You may take an evolution card from the XP. So I think I'm gonna comment on that. Oh, we're over an hour already. Oh my gosh, time flies so fast. I'm talking so much, and I don't know if we made nearly as much progress as I would have liked, but well, it's just how it goes. But I think I'm going to write this down before we call it for this session. Before I call it for this session. When Pokemon reaches EXP required for level, let's do this. Look at cards, XP cards placed under Pokemon. If one of those cards is the evolution of that Pokemon, you reach your minimum card, you can level up. So I think I think the only things that are going to be in the type deck are energy of that Pokemon's type, or potential of that type, and then also Pokemon of whatever. Evolution, you may do this. You may choose an additional card from the XP cards to add to that Pokemon draw deck. If none of the cards, let's do this, because I'm gonna make this a step by. If you level, or if you evolved, good grief, evolved, you may choose an additional card from the EXP cards to add to the Pokemon draw deck. If none of the cards can be taken for the draw deck, return all the XP cards to the type deck and draw a random item from the item cards stack. Shuffle unchosen cards. Let's just say if none of the cards can be taken for the draw deck, draw a random card from the item card stack. 5. Shuffle unchosen cards back into the XP / type deck. Shuffle Pokemon's discard into play deck to reset. No. This would be if you level, or if you evolve. No? Okay, no, that's not true. If you level. Okay. Pokemon leveling. That's right. So if you level, you do get to reset your deck. If the Pokemon level exceeds the level of the 6th highest level Pokemon, return one card from your trainer deck to to the supply, your choice. So the trainer deck is your overflow deck. This is the cards that aren't on your Pokemon or assigned to your Pokemon right now. If you have used a card that was returned to supply marked on Pokedex, subtract 1 from that value and no discard required. So there you go. That should take care of leveling. And it also gives us a pretty good idea of what the XP cards are. So let's go Pokemon Encounters, Pokemon Dex, Player Encounter. Player number will be written up. Each player draws an encounter card when entering spot. Encounter equals wild Pokemon / trainer. Draw from one of the corresponding detail decks. Type deck, region, no, region. Draw from one of the draw from a deck corresponding to the area. I think this might be redundant, because I'm pretty sure I already marked this. Encounter equals Pokemon / trainer. Let's see here. We got encounter cards, game mechanic. Wanted to write down, and this is my game setup. So it must be in the rules. Gyms. Exploring, find Pokemon, harder to find Pokemon, random encounters, random finds, leveling, Pokemon card features, trainer, Pokemon battles, take turns activating skills, draw one card if you choose, Pokemon damage, skills, energy, items in the deck, go to the Pokemon discard. Alright, so after battle, take one card from the area type deck that matches, let's say assign after battle, assign XP. This is take one card from the area type deck that matches the Pokemon and place it under his card for each XP gained by that Pokemon. There you go. I think I'm going to take this and take it and make it not red anymore and not bold. Alright, so we're cruising right along and getting close to done with that part of the state. You know, we have to keep dealing with different things. Obviously, we keep coming up with new stuff. We still have to decide how legendaries are going to appear. If we do a roll that determines when a rare Pokemon comes up, I think that's going to get complicated because we're going to have... I don't know. I mean, I think legendaries may have to be rewards, or maybe you have to be an area trainer in order for a legendary to have a chance to come up. And maybe all the cards in a type deck have to be gone or something for a legendary to come up. So I'm gonna put it down here at the bottom in red, something we have to solve for. And we'll write down some of the ideas that we have. Legendary Pokemon. No, we will have legendary Pokemon in the game. But this is the, we just have to solve for it first. And so we have to write down what that entails exactly. And that's going to be, I'm going to write down a couple ideas. One is available after all of its type deck is exhausted in that region. And then we could be have to defeat area gym leader. Die roll. After a player has at least 5 of a type. I think that might be kind of good. See, we got to come up with a way to make it possible. And then once they meet the criteria, if criteria for that player to find is met, then when encountering that type, roll the legendary die to see if you encounter a legendary of that type. So it does have to be. So now that means I've created a new component. Yay, yes, more components. Legendary die. Legendary die. To determine Pokemon. Okay, so I think we're pretty good. We got, I think that kind of hashed out. So this is one of the advantages to just writing it out. You know, I was trying to think of all the possibilities in my head. As you can see, as I was just writing those down, I think I came up with a solution that I'm kind of liking right now. We haven't decided what the criteria will be, but once the criteria is there, I think we have a good way to come up with the legendary that we want. So we'll go with that. Okay, so we are now currently at 1 hour and 12 minutes. It's 12:23 my time, PST. And I'm going to call it for now. I'm going to schedule another one. I'm going to try for another 4 o'clocker today. Yep. This week will be a double day week. Yeah, maybe. We'll see what Fridays hold. So I don't want to promise. I don't know what's going on yet. But right now, it's now and 4 o'clock. So let's see how it goes. Thanks for joining me. Or thanks for checking this out since, you know, didn't actually join me. But do come back at 4 and check it out if you look at this later. Thanks.